Welcome back to the Fans of the Home Team podcast. This is Kelsey, and this episode is going to be my interview with my friend and again, former classmate, Aaron Hannon. Aaron is a Phoenix Suns fan, probably the only Suns fan I've ever met in my entire life. Just like Palmer, J. Mike, and Megan, the previous interviews that we've done on the podcast, Aaron was a first year in Miranda and I's grad school program while we were second years. Sensing a little bit of a trend here of who we put on the podcast, but totally fine. Aaron was also my first year mentee while we were in the program, so we became pretty close. Aaron's only our second NBA interview that we've done for Fans of the Home Team, and the first one I've put on the podcast. You're going to love hearing about how passionate he is about the team. Before the interview gets started, really just want to say thank you again to all of those who have left a review on Apple Podcasts for us. We really appreciate it. If you're listening on Apple or have access to Apple Podcasts, please just take a couple minutes today to leave us a review. It really does help us grow and become better at this. We've started posting some of the reviews and we'll continue to do more as well. Without further ado, here is the interview that I did with Aaron. Aaron, how did you become a fan of the Phoenix Suns?
I guess it started because I was born there, first and foremost. And then, for me, I didn't start really watching sports, and being able to digest the information until I was, probably 9 or 10. You watch it growing up and you're like, oh, these guys are really good. And you just kind of watch it for entertainment. But when I started digesting it, it was 9 or 10. And around that time, I grew up in Tampa. But the Orlando Magic were in Orlando. They were irrelevant. They didn't have the market of Tampa yet. The Suns were an easy pick for me just because I grew up watching Steve Nash. And Steve Nash was someone I could relate to because, somebody that probably shouldn't have been as good as he was at basketball, right? For multiple reasons, right? So I just related to him really well. Grew up watching him a lot, and then that turned into fandom because I could say hey, I was born there. This is the team I'm going to root for the rest of my life. So that's how it really started. And then, I just haven't dropped it since.
I think you're the only Phoenix fan I know. I know you're a Cards fan too. Are you a fan of the teams down there?
Yeah, so I guess my situation is kind of unique. I picked the 4 worst teams from each city, or the 2 worst teams from each city. So when I was growing up, the Lightning won in 2004, but they went through a terrible stretch of hockey, right? And then I also was a Rays fan, and the Rays and the Diamondbacks came in the league together. And in 2001, as a lot of people know, the Diamondbacks won. I wasn't even rooting for them at the time. I was a Rays fan, who were probably the worst team in baseball ever for 10 years. And then they changed their uniforms and it was magic overnight. I just picked the Lightning, Rays, because I always went to the games, and then the Suns and Cardinals, because whenever I came home from the Bucks games, my dad had an NFL ticket. We would turn on the Cardinals games because it started at 4. So that's how I became a fan of the Cardinals. And then once they went to the Super Bowl against the Steelers, that was in Tampa, and I went, and that's what really solidified me being a fanatical Cardinals fan. So same thing with the Suns, really, just watching, I said, Steve Nash play and Amari Stoudemire and those guys go up against the Spurs and Lakers. That's kind of where it all started.
What have been some of your favorite Suns memories from throughout the years?
The Steve Nash years were awesome. Just watching them go up against, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and then you have Kobe, Pau Gasol. We were always the second or third best team in the West because we were going up against 2 top 10 players of all time. It was fun to watch growing up, but definitely the last 2 years, because after Steve Nash left, it was a 10-year span of terrible basketball. And I couldn't even watch them most of the time because I lived in Tampa or South Carolina where I went to school, and they were never on national TV. I remember watching them on national TV one time. They played the Spurs. It was 2016, and they got 40-pieced. And I was this is not worth my time. So the last couple of years, and it really started in the bubble, right? Because, the world was ending. The bubble was on TV, because NBA was all right, we got to finish our season just like the NHL and every other sport did. They went 8-0 in the bubble, and that's when I was all right, this team could actually be okay. And then the next year we get Chris Paul, which was last year, and we the ride to the finals was crazy. Like beating LeBron was, I'm actually a LeBron guy. Like I like LeBron a lot as a player, but beating him just was, I was elated. Like I never thought we would beat the Lakers just because of all the other times we didn't. And then just making it to the finals and then running into the Greek Freak obviously is not ideal. Yeah, last year was crazy. Like I don't even remember like the games that well because I was so, how do I put it? I was so like locked in. Like it was like I was almost playing. Like I would go home, watch. Like I couldn't watch it with anybody else. It would have to be just me because I'm that nuts about them. Last year was so fun. But that's probably my favorite Suns memory is like recency bias. But it was the only time we were successful with me as an adult.
I mean, they could very easily make another run like that again
this year. This year we have a better chance, I think. Just continuity. Devin Booker's playing really well. DeAndre Ayton, like the big three, are doing what they need to do. And then I actually went and watched them in Orlando this year when they played the Magic, and we beat them with like our JV team. Devin Booker didn't play. Chris Paul didn't play. It was like DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson didn't even play, who's like a big piece of our team just from what he does offensively as a shooter. Yeah, it was, and then we beat them with like 8 of our like normal rotation guys, 7 really, and our 2 top best players. I mean, the Magic are terrible. Like it was a bad basketball, but it just shows that we're good top to bottom. So I think we have a good chance.
Have you been to many Suns games as a fan over the years?
So I've been to 3 that I remember. I went when I was really little. My parents, I remember my dad telling me like I was there when I was like 2. I went back when I was like around that 10, 11 age to watch Steve Nash, Marty Stoudemire. We were out there for family reasons and they were in town, so I got to watch. And that probably solidified my fandom as well, because when you're that age and you go to your first NBA game and it's the Suns or whoever that you root for, you're like, okay, this is who I root for. So I've been when I was like 10. And then last year I went when they played the Tampa Raptors. That was also a really cool experience because I hadn't seen them in 15 years in person. And also to watch them play the Raptors in Tampa was just bananas. And then this one in Orlando. So if they make the finals, I will be going. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to have to call, oh my gosh, why I can't think of his name. Our sport law teacher.
Oh, Buckstein.
Buckstein. Oh my gosh, my guy. Yes, I'm gonna have to call Buckstein, tell him to hook me up. Because he would always talk to me about the Suns. He's like, Aaron, what do you think? I'm like, man, I don't know. Ask your brother.
The man. I forgot about that whole thing.
He's the guy. He is the man, like the man. He was the best. And the fact that he could just recall things, like he'd be like, yeah, I think this was on page like 362, column B. Crazy memory that.
Never seen anything like it in my entire life.
No. But yeah, those are the only 3 I went to.
That's crazy. I mean, it's a little bit more special when you don't get to go every week, right?
For sure. Like not being able to see them all the time. I can watch them on TV because they're good. Like they're on national TV. It's way cooler too, just because we weren't on national TV for a while. So like the way I've seen it is we're playing with house money right now. Like we're a team that no one thought we would be good, right? Everybody, maybe they can make the playoffs, and now there's expectations. So watching them on TV, going to games, like it's just so cool. Right. Like I said, the last year and a half has been, or 2 years really, have been like just awesome to watch as a fan from afar.
Definitely rooting for them for you. So I just don't.
I appreciate it.
I just don't get it.
It would be good for everybody around me to root for the Suns, because after they lost, I was in like a really bad mood for about a week. You can ask the kids that I coach, like they're like, yeah, like we need the Suns to win.
Just creating Suns fans around you just by your mood.
Exactly. And I even took a video last year of like, we do like basketball camps here, and I had like them say like rally the valley, like it's a bunch of like 50 little kids in Clearwater, Florida, right, saying rally the valley, just because I can make them do that type of thing.
They don't really have a team to root for.
Might as well just hop on the bandwagon, right?
Yeah,
Like there's plenty of room down here. Let's make it a national team, like the Cowboys, right?
Yeah, same exact thing.
Or the Cubs. Let's just become a worldwide brand.
The
Might as well.
Chicago Cubs of the NBA, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I see the Suns. I don't get how everybody else doesn't see it that way.
I don't know. Maybe a couple more years.
Right.
On that.
That'd be good.
What have been some of your biggest heartbreaks over the years?
I have 3 that I can think of. So last year, obviously, was devastating, up 2-0. And then Giannis just deciding to be superhuman, and he finally got some help. Because if you look back, like game 1 and game 2, he played great as well. His teammates played terribly. So it was more of like, all right, like, are these guys going to show up? If not, we got it. But they did. Chris Middleton, who's an all-NBA player, an Olympic gold medalist. Yeah, they decided to play. So that was heartbreaking. Obviously, no one expected us to be there. But once you get there, you're like, heck, might as well win.
Right.
Like, we're already here. Might as well just win. So that was obviously heartbreaking. But it was, like I said, it was a great ride. But, like, as far as another one, the other one is just, like, that 10 years of, like, just terrible basketball. We couldn't do anything right. Steve Nash goes to the Lakers, slap in the face. And then after that, Amari Stoudemire leaving for the Knicks. That was also terrible. Draft picks didn't work out, right? Not Goran Dragic, but oh my gosh, not Dario Saric, but another dude. I can't remember his name. He was picked number 4 in the draft, and he was awful. And everybody was like, oh yeah, he's the next, European, great European player like Dirk Nowitzki. He was terrible, and we just were bad, like really, really bad. So that was devastating, just being a fan and just watching us be bad at basketball for 10 years straight. And then the other ones were just probably Steve Nash going to the Lakers, like that. Mm-hmm. That hit home because he's a part of the reason I started playing basketball at the level I was at the time. He's really the only reason that I became a Suns fan when I was little. And like watching him go to the Lakers, like, no, why would you go to the Lakers? Like, you try to beat the Lakers all this time. I would have rather seen him go to like the Heat, right? Or, anywhere else, like go create a super team with anybody but the Lakers, but that was heartbreaking because right when he left, you knew it was over.
Yeah, you get that it's a business, but I don't know, like as a fan, like how could you possibly go to a rival team? Like, how do they not feel like the same amount?
I think, like, I get you're trying to get a ring, right? I get that, and he deserves one. He's probably going to get one as a coach, hopefully, because if he doesn't, that would probably be like the biggest waste of talent ever in Brooklyn. But watching him play against the Lakers, we wanted to beat them so bad, and then for you to just be like, yeah, I'm going to go be a Laker. When you do that, right, as a fan, you're just like, dude, we don't like them. Like, neither should you. I think that was what was most devastating about it was, like I said, it was just the Lakers. We don't like the Lakers. We never have. Why are you going there? Like, not only are you leaving us, but you're going to join forces with a team that's beat us like 3 or 4 times. It's a business. And like, as fans, you'll never understand that. And we have, like, we're lucky because of our backgrounds. Like, we kind of have an inside look at the back end, but you're still a fan at the end of the day. Like, when you were at the Lightning, when I was at the Lightning, like, I grew up a fan. So like, it was hard for me to not be, right? But when you were at the Lightning, like, you obviously rooted for the team.
I became a fan. So
you wanted them to be successful because it helped the business out, right? So like, no matter where you are, unless you're the GM where you have to kind of keep that separately, or a player, it just stinks.
What makes you keep being a fan year after year?
I've heard you ask this question of Palmer and J Mike, and I've been trying to think of like a really good answer, but I don't have one. Like, it's really just the underlying fandom. I don't believe in like flip-flopping. Like, there's people out there that will be like when St. Louis became LA Rams, they're like, oh yeah, like, I'm from St. Louis, but I'll root for the Rams in LA. Like, no, like, you have no connection to Los Angeles, like, zero. And that's kind of a jab at a couple of my friends. Like, yeah, it's just the underlying fandom, like me just being a fan, like continuing to root for them. I don't have like an elaborate answer of me, like, why do I root for these bums or now they're good? But yeah, it's just the only team I would really root for. I don't really have a great answer to that. It's ingrained in my soul.
That makes sense. I mean, that's an honest answer. I think that's how most diehard fans are.
Like if you ask that to like a Jaguars fan or a Jets fan, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's nothing making them come back.
No.
But they just come back because they're a fan. I just, yeah, that's the best answer I can give.
If you were the GM of the team, what are some things you do to keep the train rolling?
We've done a really good job the last couple of years of like getting key pieces. Obviously, the Chris Paul trade was franchise changing. I think I would try to figure out what life without him would be pretty soon, because I mean, he is getting old. He hasn't shown any signs of like really slowing down with us, but you know, he's one hamstring, Achilles, ACL, anything that happens to basketball players away from like his career ending. So I think we need to address like another ball handler, whether that's through the draft. I think Cameron Payne can step in and do a job, but he's not Chris Paul, obviously. So I think we need to just sit down and have a conversation with CP and just be like, all right, like how much time do you have left, you think? Like, give us an idea so we can create a plan here. Another thing, like we haven't given DeAndre Ayton an extension yet. And I don't know if you saw I don't know if I sent you that Snapchat, but when I saw that, I like went on this rant for like a minute and a half of like why we need to give him an extension. Like, you drafted the man first overall, like just give him the max. You know, like you want your first overall pick to be a max player. Like, that's part of the reason you picked them there. So just give him the money. Like, he's a huge part of the team. He's probably the most underrated part of the team. Just give him the money. I don't understand the holdup. Like, we gave McCall $100 million, and he's obviously valuable, but he's not DeAndre Ayton valuable. Like, just pay him. I don't understand. But those are the only two things. Everything else I'm cool with right now.
Yeah, it seems to be going well. Maybe I don't know. Just, I guess it depends on where they're at with the cap and stuff too. Who knows?
Yeah, but like you can make it work, right? Like, you see, if you're a good team, people are going to come to you for less dollars. That's how basketball is. Like, you look at LeBron, what he's done. Obviously, Chris Paul doesn't generate the same attention LeBron does, nor does Devin Booker or any of those guys. But if you're good, right, people are going to want to play for you or play with you. You can get veterans on minimal deals, right? Like, you can build a decent roster around a good set of guys, but you need the good set of guys to be there first. I don't know if you know how, like, or any of the listeners know how basketball works, but after you get off your rookie contract, you go into restricted free agency, which means like, okay, say the Sacramento Kings come up and say, hey, DeAndre Ayton, we're going to give you the max, right? And they basically, it's called an offer sheet. So they're going to send them an offer sheet, and the Suns have an opportunity to match it. That is what would happen. I think we would match anything if it does get to that point, but still, just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I think you got to lock up your franchise guy, your number one pick. If he doesn't turn out to be
he's the future. He's the future because one, he's the youngest, and two, he can run with Devin for 10 years. Buckstein, if you're listening, pay the man.
Lock this guy up.
Yeah. Pay the man.
I never know what GMs are doing. It feels like they're always doing something insane. So
they're always trying to be cute. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. They're
trying to just be better than everybody else by making like choices that aren't obvious, but they're like, yeah, like this is the right, and that's how you get fired. Like, honestly,
trying to get a
just
deal.
Make the obvious choices.
Trying to get a deal on somebody that you shouldn't be trying to get a deal on, basically. How would you describe the Suns community in one or two words, and why?
I have three.
That's fine. I'll allow it.
Rally the Valley. Rally the Valley. That's really it. It's gained so much traction, and it's kind of what, just like all the socials, all the people, like I saw a couple Suns fans, like there was a lot of Suns fans in Orlando. Like, I had people come up to me, like I was wearing like my, Steve Nash, like retro shirt jersey. And they would just be like, rally the valley, rally the valley, rally the valley. And I was like, yeah, rally the, excuse my French, but rally the fucking valley. Like, let's go. But yeah, that's how I would describe it. It's just, it's going to live on forever, in my opinion. Like, it's just so catchy. Like, it's a great marketing tool, and the fans love it.
It's a good slogan. I mean, the fans like it. That's what matters. If it sticks.
Right. I don't know who came up with it, but that person needs a raise.
Last question, man. If you could tell the Suns fandom what they've meant to you over the years, what would you say?
Again, like, I want to say like something really cool, but I mean, I would just tell them like thanks, thank you for, being a part of my life, because when you root for something for so long and you have no control over it, like, and they give you joy, they give you sadness, right? Like, that's true fandom. Like, I have no control what the Suns do. You have no control over the Cubs, right? It's just that underlying emotional attachment that you have towards whatever team you root for that gives you that excitement and what brings you back. So I would just tell them thank you for, everything they've done on the court, off the court. There's really nothing like crazy that I would say to them, because like, why would they listen to me? Just say thanks and move along with my day.
Such an honest guy, dude.
I mean, like, I don't know what else to, like, I wouldn't know what else to say. Like, if I walked up and saw like Devin Booker, right? Like, just randomly, I obviously be starstruck, even though he's like 3 years younger than me, and just be like, yo, dude, like, thanks. Like, you're a great basketball player. You bring me so much joy watching you play and win. And you'd be like, appreciate it, bro. And then we'd walk our separate ways, probably never see him again.
So profound.
Yeah. Really touches the heart, right?
It really does. Well,
No.
It's awesome. I appreciate it. That's all I got for you, man.
Cool. I appreciate the opportunity. If you don't mind telling everybody that, I said, hey, this has been awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
If you live in Florida and you need a place to play basketball, tell Kelsey, and I'll get you guys a place.
Shameless gym plug.
It's a new business venture, so I gotta plug it in somehow.
That's fair. I understand, obviously.
I mean, that's part of the reason we do this stuff, right? Use your connections. And this is a great connection. Also, you're doing a great job. I know I told you that off recording, but I wanted that recorded as well.
All right. Appreciate it. Now it's true. Now everyone knows.
Yeah, now everybody knows. Like, if you haven't listened to this podcast yet, you definitely should. It's a good listen.
I appreciate it. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
I use Spotify.
I was mostly telling the world, but you can do a like.
I thought you were telling me specifically. Yeah. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts, even if you have Spotify.
It's true. You can do a star rating on Spotify though.
Okay, do that. It's been fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and thank you to Aaron for doing this interview with me and giving us an insight into your Suns fandom. Next episode is going to be Miranda and I talking about the differences in men's and women's sports, and also men and women working in the sports industry. Check out our link tree, which you can find in the description of every episode. This is our one-stop shop for you to find all of our social media accounts and also sign up to share your fandom story with us. So you don't miss any of our upcoming podcasts. Subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening on. Like I said in the intro, please take some time to leave us a review. It really does help and it makes our days. Thank you again, and we'll see you next Wednesday.